Hi, my name is Ann, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Today's practice is for the lower back, and we're going to do a yoga practice that helps prevent low back pain, or helps if you're just having general achiness in the back. But if you're having intense acute pain right now or shooting sensations, then this practice, well, really any exercise practice is not for you today. But just to alleviate some general pain or prevent, join me today. And if during the practice anything arises, it becomes painful, adapt to make it more comfortable for you. Everything I say in this video is a suggestion, so adapt it for your body. And what you'll need is a strap, and if you're at home, you may have a towel or a belt or anything like that. And it's always good to have a blanket nearby for some extra cushioning. So join me. Start on your back with your knees bent, your feet flat on the floor, about hip distance apart, bringing your hands to your lower belly. And wiggle your low back and your hips to find a place of a neutral spine. So you allow a natural curvature of the low back without overarching or over tucking, flattening the low back. So find a place where you have that comfortable curve. And then allow the eyes to close and come to a sense of allowing and observing. Observe how your body feels, particularly checking in with your back. Observe your mind. And observe your breath, gently moving. Feel both movement in the belly and in the chest. And maybe make the breath a little bit deeper. Allow a little bit more movement. Gently rock the knees side to side. And hug the knees into the chest. Maybe rock side to side or in circles, giving your low back a massage. And move however feels good here. So you can do circles, lines, hexagons, dodecahedrons. Do the massage that feels right for you. And gently placing the soles of the feet back on the floor, hip distance apart, and the arms next to the hips, palms facing down. And exploring some movement of your pelvis. So tilting the pelvis down, creating an arch space between the low back and the floor. And then tilting the pelvis up and flattening that space. So you feel the core engaging and the low back reaching down toward the floor. Inhale to arch. Exhale to flatten. Explore this movement with your breath a few times. And next time you have your low back flattened to the floor, press your arms firmly into the floor as you lift your hips up into a bridge pose. Inhale to come up to whatever level feels right for you. Exhale to roll down. Inhale to come up. Exhale to roll down. Doing this a few more times with your own breath. And next time you come up into bridge, hold there. And you can walk your shoulders a little closer in toward each other. You could also interlace your fingers or grab your wrists if that's accessible, or just simply keep your arms pressing firmly into the floor to feel more of a lift. Squeeze your butt muscles, but not as if you're trying to squeeze a quarter in between your cheeks. I know that was a popular cue for a while. Actually, I want you to squeeze your butt muscles in a way as if you're trying to lengthen your glutes, your butt muscles, toward your knees. So when you do that, you can feel more space in between the lumbar vertebrae, the low back, getting rid of that crunching feeling. Feel the strength of your body, and while you're engaging those muscles, see if you can also engage the pelvic floor. Keep breathing. 3 more deep breaths. And when you're done, release the arms in slow motion, even slower than you did before. Roll all the way down. And then feel all the sensations throughout your body once your pelvis hits the floor. Feel it in a wave, a pulsation. Be present. And hug the knees in toward the chest. Rock over toward your side and make your way to hands and knees facing me. So knees right under the hips, hands right under the shoulders. And you could even come down to forearms if this hurts your wrists in any way. Beginning some cat-cows. Inhaling, the head and tailbone come up. Exhaling, the head and tailbone down. Squeezing the core. Inhale, stretching, lengthening. Exhale, squeezing. When you come up through the inhale, lengthen the neck, but don't just throw the head back. Really lengthen the crown of the head up and feel space in between the cervical vertebrae. Make sure your shoulders are down. A few more deep breaths. And then come to that neutral spine. And take one of your legs and lift it up behind you. Flex the foot and push the sole of the foot back toward the back wall. Being careful not to hike the hip up. Both hip points stay down toward the floor. Lengthen the foot back and, optional, lift the opposite arm forward. And imagine somebody pulling your arm and leg in both directions. While making sure not to shrug the shoulders toward the ears, keep them down. Keep the neck long, the crown of the head also reaching forward. And breathe. Lift that leg up a little bit higher, make it as close to parallel to the floor as possible. And then release the hand, release the leg. Pause and center. And when you're ready, going into the other side. So you'll lift the opposite leg, the one you didn't do. Flex the foot actively. And imagine space in the hip joint. So you're trying to reach the sole of the foot back and feel that space being created. Lifting the opposite arm if that's accessible. And reach in both directions. Space between the shoulders and ears by keeping the shoulder blades down the back. Creating nice, long, lean muscles, engaging and lengthening at the same time. Breathing into this. And slowly release the hand down and then the leg down. Rest back in child's pose. And if your hips don't come all the way back, that's fine. Come back to wherever they allow. If it's more comfortable, you can bring a rolled up blanket in between your thighs and your calves and release onto it. And notice your breath expanding wherever you are through your back body. Feel the back of your rib cage moving with the breath. Gently walk your hands over toward one side and crawl the fingertips just a little bit more while being careful not to shrug the shoulders up. Breathe into the side ribs now. Feel the stretch of all the little tiny muscles in between the ribs and around the rib cage as you breathe deeply. And walk your hands over to the other side. Crawl the fingertips just a little bit more while being careful not to shrug the shoulders. Breathing deeply. And coming back to center. And coming back to center to hands and knees. And lying back down, having the strap nearby. Settle for a moment. And then bring the strap around the ball mound of your right foot. So up near the toes. Straighten the leg. And we want to have the knee as straight as possible. So I'd rather you have your leg out further in front of you and be able to come toward a straight knee rather than really close toward you with the knee quite bent. Because the hamstrings are attached below the knee, or in this orientation, above the knee. So in order to get a full stretch, straightening helps. Hold the strap wherever necessary in order to keep the shoulder blades relaxed down. And notice your breath. Sometimes low back pain can be interrelated with tight hamstrings, these muscles in the back of your thighs. Because when they're tight, they pull on the pelvis and tilt the pelvis in a position that causes a lot of strain on the muscles of the back and around the hips. So sometimes, for many people, stretching the hamstrings can alleviate some of that low back pain. So with each exhale, see if you can just gently tug. And it may just be a millimeter each time. Maybe not even able to see it, but you'll feel a difference. And once again, it doesn't matter if your leg is out far or up close, just so you feel an intense stretch in the belly of your muscle and you don't feel any pain in the joints. If you feel pain, back off. And then release the strap. And with the leg as straight or as bent as you'd like, slowly bring it down to the floor with control, feeling the core muscles engaging. And then allow both legs to rest out for a moment. Close the eyes and feel the difference between the two legs. Feel the difference in sensation, vibration, weight, temperature. And then hug the other knee in towards the chest and place the strap around the ball mound of the foot, straightening the knee and adjusting to allow the shoulders to relax. Noticing the breath here. Perhaps using the breath to your advantage to make sure this pose isn't stagnant. So little by little with each exhale, just gently tugging. Also noticing if your shoulders are riding up, if your jaw is clenching. Keep telling the muscles not involved, not necessary, to let go. And releasing the strap with the knee as straight or bent as you'd like, slowly release toward the floor. As if you're moving in slow motion. And when it finally hits the floor, release both legs and just feel. Soak in the sensation. When you're ready, reach the arms up over your head and stretch in both directions. And one last time, hug the knees in toward the chest and rock. Or do any shape that feels good to you. Doing any last movements that you feel as though you need. And setting yourself up in final relaxation. So you can put a blanket rolled up under your knees, or a bolster if you have, or pillow if that feels good. Do any adjustments to allow your low back to settle and find as much ease as possible. Allowing the eyes to close and the body to surrender down to gravity. Surrendering to the flatness of the floor. Surrendering to all the sensations in your body, all the sounds around you. All that's present in this moment. Noticing the breath. And lying here as long as you'd like in order to allow all the benefits of the practice to soak in. Thank you very much for joining me today for this low back practice. Thank you and namaste.